Hello there, it's Cole, the Feezer. I'm coming to you from my friendly local game store, Let's Play Games and Hobbies. And for today's video, I want to talk about my top 10 most anticipated things for 2024. It's not strictly going to be games. Well, I mean, it is, but like it'll be expansions potentially and full releases and maybe things that aren't quite gonna be out yet this year. You'll see as the video goes along. Um, so, um, I realized I had a list, and then I realized I was going to do this list from top to bottom, but I realized I'd be going from 1 to 10. That'd be like counting up or weird. I was like, I can't do that, so then bear with me. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into my list here, though. Again, things I'm anticipating this year. Let's see. First up, number 10 on my list. Things that I'm most anticipating this year. I am most anticipating anything and everything that Thundergrift Games has coming out this year or coming up soon that they're going to announce this year. So yeah, they've announced they got quite a few things in the works, but I'm only going to highlight a few things here because, spoiler alert, some other things might be later on the list that I'll get to then. But the two of their upcoming releases that they've announced, they've got Bestseller, which if you check out their new website, they've got a whole Foundry page where they talk about things that are coming out, and Bestseller is one of those things. It's a game that sounds very intriguing to me. It's another, I would say it's like a Word-esque party game, essentially, which party games aren't exactly something that Thundergrift is known for doing. They do have some games that can play up to like 5 and 6 players. Like Overseers is one of my personal hidden gems of theirs that I very much enjoy and will not hesitate to show anyone I have the chance to show. But yeah, they haven't exactly dabbled in the party space, I would say. But I am very much excited with this, and like the story that they like the background that they share with it on their new website. They talk about like the design process that like they came up with these ideas during the 2020 pandemic, and it's like, boy, you couldn't have picked a worse time to have an idea for a party game, because that was a time when it's like, oh no, stay as far away from everyone as you possibly can, kind of a thing. And it's like, yeah, but still they had this idea, and then like they talk about the process and like the iteration of it, and it's like it needs to have like a good name that'll stick, that's catchy, short and to the point, and not very wordy, if you will, despite the fact that it is a word game. I understand the somewhat subtle irony there, but yeah, anyways. So yeah, just reading that and like seeing what they got going on there, I am very much potentially interested in what that might look like, how that might shape out. I'm always a sucker for a good party game, especially if it's one, that is word-based and can help easily pull other players in. So I'm excited for that one. And then they have another one, which I think they just teased the full name of today as I'm recording this video. It's a game called Etherstone. I know nothing. I know that if you're on their Discord, they may have been dropping a couple of hints there. But yeah, basically I know nothing. There's going to be a whole live stream next week at the time of this recording. They'll be talking more about it, probably unveiling the whole thing then and there. I don't know if this is going to be a direct retail release or if this will be another one of the crowdfunding campaigns, which they always do a fantastic job with. So either way, it would be fine by me. But I'm always excited by whatever Thundergrift puts out. They're just one of my personal favorite publishers of all time. I generally like all their games. I know there are people that don't like some of their games, and that's fine. I'm not here to begrudge that point. But yeah, they're just a publisher that is near and dear to my heart, and so I'm always very much anticipating everything they do. So just getting to know more about that, and maybe other things they might have in the works. Maybe there's things that they're working on that they haven't said anything about yet, that maybe later this year they'll announce more details of or unveil or whatever. And so yeah, I'm very much excited for those things. I can't say that those things would be coming out this year I would say, at least with Bestseller, the way that it was kind of described, it seems like it's a game that could be out this year, so that's great. Maybe we might see it at Gen Con or Spiel. Who knows? We'll have to see on that one. Etherstone, given how little we know at this point, and just knowing their kind of like release cadences and everything, especially if it's going to be something that's crowdfunded, I don't anticipate that one's going to be out this year, but still, just getting more information about it is just something to anticipate, and that's part of the point of some of the things on this list, is that maybe it's not something that is coming out this year, but just getting to know more about a game like that anticipation. I mean, that's the whole point. It's the most anticipated. Yeah, anyways. So that's, for me, that's kind of like my number 10 then on this list, is just everything that Thundergrift is putting out this year, or just announcing, whatever. So yeah. Moving on then, we've got number 9, and for me, that is going to be the new Space Base expansion, Space Base Genesis. I know that AEG had ran a Kickstarter campaign for it last year around Gen Con-ish times, I think, but it was like 4 expansions in one. I was like, cool. If you deep dived into everything that they do, and you have all their most popular games, it's like, here's a bunch of expansions. And it's like, yeah, Space Base is about the only one they were putting an expansion out for, and I was like, oh man, I really want that kind of a thing. But it wasn't enough that I was like, oh, I'm going to back this campaign. It just seemed a little silly when I didn't have like half the games in the campaign, and whatever. It's a whole thing, whatever. Not the point. I am very much anticipating this expansion, though. I've been slowly looking into it at times, and it feels very much like this is the expansion to get. Like, if you just like what Space Base is doing and you just want more of it, then Genesis feels like it's going to give you more of that. At this point, I have everything there is to have except for one promo card, and unless I want to go on like the geek market and pay like an arm and a leg to get it, I'm probably not going to be able to get it, but it's whatever. I'm sure it'll be available at some point eventually. It's fine. It's no big deal. But yeah, I otherwise have everything, and I very much enjoy the game. I picked up and played the first Saga expansions. The Emergence of Shy Pluto, I believe, is the first one. I've gotten that, played it, like it. It's fine. I like everything that it adds to the game, and it's got a nice narrative element to it all. It's not like it's a super deep. It's not like you're gonna pick this up and think, oh, I'm getting a Gloomhaven-esque experience. No offense, but yeah, there's a much different world there. But still, there's some narrative elements that I enjoy and what it adds to the game and everything, and that's fine. And then I just over the holidays picked up the new Mysteries of Terra Proxima or whatever. So I'm looking forward to being able to jump into that one. Of course, I have the command station that can hold everything and support up to 7 players and everything. But I like the idea of this Genesis expansion that it's like, oh, here's just more of the same. And I saw some of the teaser images of like some of the cards and things, and like I know that I have the one promo pack of like, here's a whole bunch of new colony cards. So before you had all these colony cards, I was like, oh, they're just worth the amount of points that are printed on them, and it blocks the space on your board that you can no longer get ship cards in that sector or whatever. And it's like, okay. But now they're adding new ones, and it's like, oh, here's a card. It may not get you points, but it likely gets you some really powerful effect. It still blocks a sector on your board, but hey, you're getting some other big benefit that's potentially really good at the right time. And so I like those ideas. I like just more of the same, if you will, and being able to explore new and interesting potential combinations to win and excel at the game and everything. So yeah, I'm looking very much forward to that one. Next, we've got number 8, and that is Inventors of the South Tigris. So I picked up, I have everything in the Medieval Trilogy so far. I've got everything from the North Sea, everything from the West Kingdom, and I've got everything from the South Tigris so far, Wayfarers, Scholars, and I think pretty much every promo there is. But anyway, I'm very much looking forward to Inventors. I can't tell you much about it. I haven't looked too deeply into it. These are the kinds of games these kinds of games is like, I just know they're going to be good. I've not really seen Garphill Games put out a bad game. I should say an objectively bad game, mind you. I've not played anything of theirs that I felt like, oh, this is terrible and I'll never play this again. I've never had an experience like that playing any of their games. I think in fairness, I haven't played every single one of their games. I don't think I've tried Chaos Order yet, or Legacy of You, I think are the notable ones that I haven't tried yet, but everything I've heard leads me to suspect they're really good games. But yeah, so while I don't know much about Inventors at the moment, I just know that I'm going to get it day one when it comes out. It's going to be delivered to my shop here. I'm going to pick up a copy. I'm going to immediately crack the rulebook open, and at my earliest convenience, even if it's a solo game that day or someday in the future with a friend, I know I'm going to get it to the table and play it and enjoy it and love it, as was the case with everything up to date. I mean, I've played the heck out of Viscounts and Paladins and Wayfarers and Scholars, and the heck, I just played a game of Raiders today as the time of this recording. Yeah, you know, like I just love all their games. They do such a good job in it, and I would say most of their games work my brain in ways that it's like, this is just so good, and I love it. I mean, I would say not all of their games are home runs for me. That it's like, like I'm clamoring to play this one again. I would say for me personally, Architects is a bit of a low note for me. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying I'm not good at it. And so I get that if I play it more, I could potentially get better. But it's like I very much, of those three, prefer Viscounts and Paladins. And I will play Architects, especially if people ask. But it's not going to be between the three, it wouldn't be the first choice, if you will. But that's just me, and that's not a knock on the game. That's just a knock on me as a player. So take that with what you will. So that's my number 8, Inventors of the South Tigers, excuse me. Next we have, also from Garfield Games, my number 7, Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux, specifically. Yes, I know, Shipwrights of the North Sea is a game that already exists. I own it. I haven't played it a bunch, but ever since I knew that, there's a Redux coming, it's like, I'll just wait and play the Redux, because I'm enjoying all the other games that they have out at the moment. So I'll just wait for the better version, if you will, to come out. That isn't me trying to say that, Shipwrights is unplayable, but at the same time, when I've got so many games competing for space on my table, I can put that one on the back burner for a little bit till Shipwrights comes out, the Redux version, if you will, and I can play that. And, I mean, in fairness, Shem Phillips admitted that it was his first design first design that he released under Garfield Games, essentially. And it's like, yeah, this was early days in the whole process, and I didn't know some of the things then that I know now. And so it's like, I have no problems revisiting the game and tightening it up and making it a little bit better and what have you, and he did that. And that's one of the few games of theirs that I backed through the Kickstarter, because I was like, okay, yeah, normally I can just wait for their games to hit my friendly local game store. I can just pick them up that way, which I've been doing for like most of the most of the West Kingdom and all of the South Tigers so far. And it's like, yeah, that's easy peasy, makes sense. So why wouldn't I? But this one, they were offering some things. It's like, okay, it's not like anyone needs what's being offered here in this Kickstarter campaign, but yeah, I'll take it. So I backed it. And that should be here next month. I did see in a very recent update that I believe the games are in the States. It's just a matter of getting to the fulfillment center and then doing fulfillment. So any week now. So that's definitely something to look forward to in this late winter, early spring season coming up here. So very much looking forward to that, and I'm curious to see how it differs. I have no doubt that it's going to be good, given that Shem has learned a lot in the time since he originally designed that. So I'll be very curious to dive into that one, if you will. And so that's my number 7. That is Shipwrights of the North Sea. Next, in number 6 on my list. This one isn't strictly anything that's coming out per se, but number 6 on my list is more Unfair playtesting. That's what I'm anticipating. It's if you followed me at all, you'll know that Unfair is my number 2 game of all time, just behind Carcassonne at number 1. What comes after, I don't know. I'm not great at ranking things. I'm surprised I was able to rank this the way that I did, so bear with me here. But no, Unfair is my number 2 game of all time. I very much enjoy it. I've played with a lot of people that love it too, and I've also played with a bunch of people that don't love it, and that's fine. It's not a game that's for everyone. I think some of the criticisms are a bit overblown, and there are multiple reasons for that, none that I'll get into at this time. But yeah, it's a game that I very much enjoy. I was an active playtester for the first expansion, and I was really an active playtester for the second expansion, to a point that, again, I got special recognition in the rulebook because of it. Not to, brag too much or anything, but it is what it is. And so I'm very much looking forward to getting to playtest the next expansion, which is no secret. We know that it's FLSU, which is Fairy Tale, Legendary, Steampunk, and Underground. And so I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to speak out of turn, if you will. I don't want to steal anything. I don't want to reveal too much, but I'm very much excited by some of the potential mechanics that these new expansion theme packs have to offer, and how they can potentially break the game or create some rather legendary moments, if you will. Pun intended. Yes. But yeah, that's something that I'm very much looking forward to. Plus, also being able to just gather around the digital table, if you will, with friends that I know who also love the game, and just being able to play it a bunch is something that I do very much look forward to. And I'm curious how all that's going to shape out. I'm sure we're going to be providing lots of feedback and what have you, so yeah. And in general, playtesting is just something that I enjoy, which makes for a nice transition into what'll be my number 6. But yes, that was my number 7, doing more unfair playtesting this year. So moving on, my number 6 is going to be more playtesting in general. It started out that I did a lot of playtesting for Unfair specifically, and at the time, that's all it was, but it eventually, once I started playtesting the second expansion, it spawned from that, and the head of Good Games Publishing reached out to me and select others, and was like, hey, if you like playtesting Unfair so much, you want to help us playtest other things? And I was like, sure, I like playing games. It feels like a win-win. So, yeah, I now do a lot of active playtesting for Good Games Publishing. I don't know what percentage of the amount of playtesting I do for them compares to the wider net of how much playtesting they do overall, but I enjoy what little bit they let me do, which they've got quite a few things in the works that I'm not gonna spoil any one particular thing, but not only do I look forward to playtesting more, because there are some things that we are actively playtesting right now that I am very much excited for, to get physical releases. And Kim, if you're watching, I think you know what one of those is, but that's neither here. Well, 2 of them actually, but that's neither here nor there. There are some things that we've been playtesting that I know will be out this year, and so I'm very much excited for those to come out. Even if I don't necessarily think that they would be like on my most anticipated list or make my top 10 at the end of the year or anything like that, just having those games come out and seeing them at Gen Con and seeing them at other cons and being able to demo them at Gen Con, just all of that is exciting to me. When a publisher does well, that's exciting for me. I want to see publishers do well, and I want to see Good Games Publishing do well, and they do seem to do well, and I very much enjoy it, because when they do well, I get to go to Gen Con. And when I get to go to Gen Con, I get to see lots of people and play lots of games and have lots of fun, and I like that. Without Good Games Publishing, there's no me at Gen Con, and if you ever got to meet me there, well, then you understand just how important it is too. But yeah, I very much look forward to that. It's always nice to sit down around the virtual table and play games with other people and work out the bugs and see, can we break it, and what if I do this and that, and yeah, and that's kind of my thing, is I like to break things. I like to look at an aspect of a game and it's like, oh, this thing means I could do okay. Yeah, it's like, we were playtesting a game the other night. I won't go into details, but basically I pulled off a crazy move, and it was like, wow, like that, you got a lot of points in one turn. It's like, I did, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I very much am looking forward to not only the things that I've been playtesting over the last year or two coming out this year, but also the things that we are going to continue playtesting this year that might be either announced later this year or come out in the following year. So that's going to be my number 6. Pardon me, sorry, that's going to be not my number 6, I think it was my number 5. I may be out of order here, just bear with me here, I apologize. Let's see then, so, yeah, moving on. Number 4. Let's see here. Yes. Going back to Thundergriff. And for my number 4, it's got to be Galileo. I don't know anything about it, other than that it's obviously going to be about Galileo, the famous astronomer. Yes. But I don't know much about it mechanically. I do know that it is by Simon Luciani. It is the next in his scientist line of games. He first did Newton, and then he partnered with Thundergriff and did Darwin's Journey, my number 1 game of 2023. And so now he's going to be back again with Thundergriff Games doing Galileo, and I have zero doubts that it's going to be a phenomenal game. Almost makes me want to seek out a copy of Newton just to play that, given how good Darwin's Journey is, and given how I have no doubts that Galileo is going to be good. Kind of makes me curious to want to try Newton, but that's for another time. But yeah, we don't know much about it at this point. I don't think it's going to be a game that's coming out this year, because one, I have to imagine that they are going to crowdfund it. It just seems like the kind of game that they absolutely would crowdfund, and given the potential space theme, I'm very curious what kind of a spin that Thundergriff is going to take on that, thematically speaking. Like, mechanically, it's whatever. There's only so much they can do there, but I'm very curious thematically how they're going to go with it, because seeing what they did with Darwin's Journey, I'm very curious, because space as a theme can be incredibly beautiful, and Thundergriff is known for making beautiful games, both from an artwork standpoint and a table presence standpoint. They always hit it out of the park. They may not always be the quickest to, crowdfund a campaign and then manufacture it and then fulfill it and all that, but I've never been bothered by what they do. They always deliver. Maybe they're a little late, but they always deliver, and they always deliver a quality product. And that's all the more why I anticipate this game, and I'm glad that they got it. It could have potentially went to anyone, but I know what Thundergriff's capable of, and I'm glad they're the ones working on this. So I am very much looking forward to Galileo and whatever comes next in that regard. I am excited to see more about the game. So that's my number 4, Galileo. Moving on to my number 3. And that's more Darwin's Journey. I have personally spoken with people at Thundergriff Games just to make absolutely sure, and they've made it known that they're working on more Darwin's Journey content, and the intent is to have that put out this year. Sorry, things happening outside. But yes, that is their intent, is to put more Darwin's Journey content out this year, and so I am very much excited by that. I would be impressed if it's something as deep as like a new full-on expansion, like the Fireland expansion was, that it's like, oh, here's a whole new map to explore and a slight modification to the board. I would be impressed if it's on that scale. I'm not anticipating anything on that scale, but if it is, sign me up. Sign me up faster than you could ever sign anyone up ever. I mean, I'm 100% on board. Anything to do with Darwin's Journey, you have me sold. Yeah. I mean, and I know I'm not the only one that thinks this, okay? I'm not the only one that loves this game. It was the number 2 highest ranked release of 2023, only behind the game Hegemony, which is a fine game, don't get me wrong. I personally think Darwin's Journey is the best game that was released last year. I can see why Hegemony is up there, mind you, but that's a topic for another video, not here and now. But yeah, for me, my number 3 is just more Darwin's Journey content, and I'm curious what they can do with it. I mean, I've seen what they did with the base game and then the Fireland expansion, and what, honestly, they can do with it in general. Then there's only so much they can do, and they do have to be a little careful, because there's only so much in terms of thematic sway that they have, because the overall theme is you're chronicling Darwin's journey through the Galapagos Islands. I mean, you could throw in more islands, but you got to be careful. You can't throw too much into left field there, or it might not go over too well. But I have no doubt that whatever Thundergriff does, it's going to be amazing. So that is what I am very much looking forward to. That is my number 3. That is more Darwin's Journey. Moving on, then, we've got my number 2. And my number 2 is the spiritual follow-up, if you will. I don't know, what can I say? Is that the right way to put it? The follow-up to Moonrakers, Moon Rollers. So, back before PAX Unplugged in December, Like, I had gotten emails from Ivy Studios, but also I got inundated with ads. Their marketing team is amazing. They find a way to target me even though I'm not looking to be targeted? Question mark? But no, I've just been getting ad after ad after ad for Moon Rollers, and it's like, I also got the emails like, yeah, I know, I backed Moonrakers, I know, I got everything, okay, yeah, and I looked at the campaign, it's like, yeah, you probably want to back this because we got more Moonrakers content in with Moon Rollers, and it's like, so I was like, okay, yeah, I'm probably going to back this, and it's like, but I'm going to PAX Unplugged, maybe I'll check it out there and see what I think. Because maybe I try it out at PAX Unplugged and think, oh, well, this is terrible. I don't want this. Just give me the Moonraker stuff, and you can just keep your Moon Rollers separate. No, don't leave that. No. So I went to PAX Unplugged, and sure enough, Ivy Studio was there, and they had a demo table set up for it. And yeah, I kind of knew in the loosest sense that, oh yeah, it's a push your luck dice rolling game, and it's like, I love push your luck dice rolling games. I love Can't Stop. I've played Spots a few times. I very much enjoy that one too. I recently started playing Can't Stop Express, and it's a nice twist on Can't Stop. It can be rather frustrating at times, but I very much enjoy Push Your Luck. And funny enough I say that, I learned a new Push Your Luck game today. Well, Space Agency. Yeah, another Push Your Luck dice rolling game. Very much enjoy. This is a really solid release, and if I had known about this sooner, it might have been on some kind of a list. But yeah, this is fantastic. But that's neither here nor there. I am talking about Moon Rollers, not Millennium. But no, I went to PAX Unplugged, and I got to go to the Ivy Studio booth, and I got to try a demo of Moon Rollers. And oh boy, if you can make a game that gives me a moment of absolute joy, I'm probably picking up your game then. And that's kind of what happened here. I was already leaning towards backing it, but then what happened at PAX Unplugged just sold me. I was there, I was playing, and the way that this game kind of works is that like there are like these sort of like objective cards out there that have like spots on them. And basically, you'll roll your dice, you'll pick a card, and you'll commit some amount of dice to that card. To be like, hey, I'm going for this particular objective on this card. And so then you'll put like one of your tokens on there to note that, okay, I've done that. Or like, I'm doing this, and then once you do it, you fully commit the cube there or whatever. And once you complete that objective, you can stop. Or you can push your luck and try and do the other objectives that are on that card. And there was this moment where it's like, well, okay, I'm going to push my luck. Like, I was rolling a bunch of dice and doing well, and I was like, I'm going to push my luck, because if I stop here, somebody else is going to come in and finish the card, finishing the last objective, and then they'll get the card, and they'll get the bonuses that come from having that card, and all I'll get is just some measly points, and it's like, well, points are good, and points are ultimately what determines the winner. Not having that ability kind of sucks, because then I can't use it to help me get more points as the game goes on, and it's like, I'm going to push my luck. And I did. And I walked away with nothing. And I was like, dang, what a turn. I've played enough Can't Stop to know that can absolutely happen. There's been many times in Can't Stop when I get like one space away from the top of one of the tracks or columns or whatever. It's like, I'm going to press on, I'm going to do this, and then, shoot. I get nothing. It happens. It's fine. It's push your luck. You can only beat yourself up so much about that. But then on a later turn of Moon Rollers at PAX Unplugged, I'm rolling the dice and I was like, okay, I'm going to try and push my luck again. Because, yeah. And, like, I just picked a random card. It's like, okay, I did the first objective. Great. I'm going to push my luck. Ooh, I did the second one. Push my luck. Did the third. It's like, oh, man. I don't want to stop here. There's just one spot left. Someone will just come in and swoop it from me. Yes, I get all these points, but, I want the whole card for myself. So I pushed my luck, and wouldn't you know it, boom. I got exactly what I needed. I got the whole card. It was an amazing moment. I'm like, oh, my God, okay, you told me I'm going to go and back this game immediately, and I did. And now I'm just waiting for it to come out because I think it's that good. Yeah. That's my number 2. That's Moon Rollers, and yeah, I'm all in. Like I went all in. I don't think I'm getting the metal dice though, because while I appreciate metal dice, I didn't get them for Moonrakers, and I doubt I'm getting them for Moon Rollers because it's just price. It's just a step too high. I can't. It's hard for me to justify an upgrade like that. But they've made them available after the fact, at least for Moonrakers, and I don't see why they wouldn't for Moon Rollers. If my mind ever changes, or if I ever find myself having money burning a hole in my wallet, I guess I can go for those at a later point. So I'm not too terribly worried about it, but the game's fine as is. And part of me might be concerned for as much as you are actively rolling dice in Moon Rollers. I'd have questions about the long term, how well these dice could hold up on the long term, the metal ones anyways. Like, I don't know, I've never looked too much into rolling metal dice a lot and if that has any impact on them, but that's whatever. Anyways, Moon Rollers, love it. If you haven't already, you should probably go late pledge it for yourself. It's that good, and I have no doubts that it's going to deliver this year. If it honestly could deliver in time for Gen Con, which I know is a tall order considering they only recently just wrapped up the campaign. I think the Pledge Manager closes in a few weeks, but even so, it's a tall order to think that they could deliver much. I mean, if they can do it, fantastic. I'm taking it with me to Gen Con and playing it a bunch. Absolutely is the plan. Otherwise, if they don't deliver in time for Gen Con, then it'll be with me at PAX Unplugged this year, and I'll be playing it a bunch there because, it's one I very much enjoy. So that's my number 2, Moon Rollers. Then last but not least on my list is the Seasons expansion for Tang Garden. So we're going back to Thundergriff for my number 1. Tang Garden, it's a game that I very much enjoy, but I don't get to play often enough. And there are reasons for that. I want to personally believe that this new Seasons expansion is going to fix that. Not in the way that you might be thinking, but yeah. So, for me, Tang Garden was one of the first big games that I went all in on Kickstarter. Like, I remember, even before the campaign launched, like, Thundergriff was posting teaser images on social media and things like that. And I'll never forget, when I first saw that rendered image of, like, the game board, I'm like, wow, that looks amazing. Like, I've not seen game boards look this good at that time. Granted, I may have had a limited scope and all the things that I was looking at that time, but that's whatever. I still thought it was incredible. And I wasn't alone. Like, I added some people on social media, like, you agree, this looks good, right? And they were like, oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, so I was very much excited by that, the whole campaign, the whole 9 yards. They sold me. And I was all in. It was the first campaign I ever spent over $100 on, which, yeah, for me was a lot at the time. And even now, I'd probably still be a lot, but that's neither here nor there. But yes, it was a game I very much looked forward to for more reasons than one. It eventually arrived, and I just got to play it, and it is beautiful. This Tang Garden probably has one of the nicest table presences that I've seen with any game. Yeah, it's a tile laying game, but it's got like 3D elements to it, and like you're putting landscapes or panoramas around like the outsides, and it's like that's what the characters look at. And it's just like the table presence is top tier. Like, to me, I think few games look nicer than this does on the table as you're playing it, and when you're done, and it's a whole thing. It's incredible. So the fact that they're putting more of it out there just absolutely excites me. And from what I can tell from the Seasons expansion and the rulebook compendium that they put out, it feels like they're almost doubling the amount of content that you're going to have available to you in this game, and that's just amazing. But one of the things that's kind of been holding me back from getting into the table more often is I've got everything up to this point. I've got the base game, which comes in a big box, so it's already a bit of an issue to fit it in my game bag, but then I've got both expansions. And part of the issue for me is that not everything from the base game fits in the base game box, because I've got all the deluxeifications, and so I've got like some niceties that, like the little trees, if I want them to stay together, then they don't fit in the base box. I have to put them in the one expansion box, and it's a whole thing. And yeah, I don't like assembling and disassembling those trees and other things, and so it's like, yeah, so at a minimum I have to bring at least 2 of the boxes with me, and if I'm already going to that length, well, I might as well just bring all 3, because the third box at that point is only so thin, it's only so thick, it's whatever. But that's a lot of space that's being taken up in my bag, when, for me, the way that I do things is like the beginning of every week, I'll pack my bag with like a bunch, like I'll pack it to the brim with games. A lot of them going to be crunchier, heavier Euros, because that's just what I like to play. And so a game like Tang Garden is going to take up a fair amount of space, but then I also have the 3 boxes, and I'm also worried about them being vertically stacked in my bag. It's a whole thing. It's just me being weird, okay? And that's a lot of that is my personal idiosyncrasies. It's not a fault of the game by any means. The game's fantastic. If I could play it more, I absolutely would play it more. It's whatever. But it's just that whole idea that it's like, okay, I have to bring this and I have to bring that, and then So with the Seasons expansion, they have created a big box that is designed to hold everything. And yes, I know one of the answers to my criticisms is just get an insert for the base box that'll fit everything in the base box, which those do exist. But the nice ones, the wooden ones, they're expensive. And there was a time when I considered them, but then there was also at a time when it's like, okay, they're likely going to do more content for this game, which means they're likely going to do a big box and likely some kind of all-in-one solution. It was all things that only made sense. And so down at the point now, it's like, well, I'm just going to wait for that big box. And yeah, once that arrives, then yeah, I'll have everything all tucked away in one nice, neat box that I can bring with me. And hopefully, as a result, I can get it to the table more often because it is just that good of a game. I love it. I mean, it engages a lot of the mechanics that I enjoy. I love Tile Lane. It's got little bits of set collection in there, but I very much enjoy like this spatial element that it's like, okay, I've got these characters, and it's like I have to do certain things in order to get more characters, but then as I get more characters, I have to choose. It's like, well, do I want this character to be as my active, or do I want to just get this character and immediately put it down on the board, or do I want to be my active and I put this other character on the board? But then putting characters out on the board has like this beautiful spatial element. It's like you care about which direction they're looking at, so physically how you place them matters, and it's great, and I love it, and it's fantastic. It's an absolutely beautiful game, and I love what they're doing with Seasons, and I love that, like, alongside the Seasons expansion, they created a new, like, roll and write game, and like a crunchier roll and write game, not like super crunchy like Twilight Inscription, mind you, but still not as basic as I would say as their other roll and write game, Rolling Ranch. Solid game. Been playing it a few times lately since I picked up the new solo pack for that, but that's another matter. But yeah, they created a new roll and write, the Peach Festival, and they've actually created a custom scenario for Tang Garden Seasons expansion that in some way interacts with that, either with the dice or with the sheet. I don't know the full details. I haven't looked into it too much. Because, yeah, sometimes I don't like to deep dive into some things if I know that I can't just continually deep dive into it. It's like, yeah, like I don't want to go learn all about a game if I can't immediately then play that game, or I don't want to sit down I don't want to deep dive into a game if I'm only going to be able to play it once for now and then have to wait like 6 months till I can play it a bunch more proper kind of thing. But yeah. But I'm very much curious how that all integrates, so that's something to very much look forward to. So there's all of that. But for me, that's my number one most anticipated release of 2024. That is going to be the Seasons expansion for Tang Garden. And yeah. I don't know. That's pretty much going to do it for this list then. So yes, that was my top 10 most anticipated releases of 2024. Again, my name is Cole, Defease Feezer, signing off from my friendly local game store, Let's Play Games and Hobbies.